Welcome back to Rare CoinX PRO. Today we are diving deep into 4 incredible Lincoln Week pennies that every coin collector needs to know about. These small copper coins may look like ordinary 1-cent pieces, but depending on the year, the mint mark, the condition, and the story hiding inside each one, some examples are worth far more than you could ever imagine. Stay with us all the way to the end because our final coin broke a record that will genuinely take your breath away. Let's start with our first coin, the 1952 no-mint mark Lincoln Week penny. The story of the 1952 no-mint mark Lincoln Week penny begins in one of the most energetic and optimistic periods in American history. By 1952, the post-war economic boom was in full swing, suburbs were expanding rapidly across the country, television was transforming family life, and at the Philadelphia Mint, the presses were producing copper cents in extraordinary quantities to fuel the commercial activity of a nation running at full speed. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1 billion pennies in 1952 across all 3 mint facilities, with Philadelphia alone contributing a massive share to that total without any mint mark beneath the date. That enormous production figure tells you immediately why circulated examples of this date are so accessible and affordable for collectors at every level, and it also sets up the story of conditional rarity that makes the finest survivors so genuinely exciting to pursue. The historical backdrop of 1952 is a rich one. Dwight Eisenhower was running for the presidency, preparing to end 20 years of Democratic control of the White House. The Korean War was continuing, testing American resolve. And at the Philadelphia Mint, which had been producing American coins since the very founding of the Republic, the presses were striking wheat cents in the same proud tradition that stretched all the way back to 1909. By 1952, the Lincoln Wheat series was entering its final decade of production, with only 6 more years remaining before the Lincoln Memorial Reverse would replace the beloved wheat stalks in 1959, though nobody handling these coins in their everyday change in 1952 quite knew that yet. When it comes to history and condition, the 1952 Philadelphia cent tends to be well struck with good detail across Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks, making it a rewarding date to cherry-pick for quality. What you are hunting for is a coin where Lincoln's hair above the ear shows each individual strand with sculptural clarity, where the cheekbone retains its full original 3-dimensional contour, and where the surfaces carry that original blazing copper red without any toning, spotting, or oxidation. A web-like staining pattern is known on some Philadelphia Lincoln cents from the late 1940s and early 1950s, caused by a reaction between the copper and certain chemicals used in storage and transport, and looking specifically for 1952 Philadelphia cents that have escaped this staining adds an important layer to your selection process. The background and composition of this coin carries the proud design legacy of the entire Lincoln cent tradition. Like all wheat pennies from this period, the 1952 no-mint mark cent is struck in 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams and measuring 19 millimeters in diameter, with Victor David Brenner's Lincoln portrait on the obverse and Christopher Ironside's 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. The Philadelphia Mint also struck proof versions of the 1952 cent for collector sets, with those specially polished examples carrying meaningful premiums above the standard business strikes. The 1952 Philadelphia cent also carries documented double-die obverse varieties and repunch date varieties that add genuine cherry-picking excitement for variety-focused collectors. Collector demand for the 1952 no-mint mark penny is healthy and welcoming across all levels. Entry-level collectors find circulated examples affordable and accessible, making this a great starting point for anyone building a complete Philadelphia wheat cent date set. Intermediate collectors hunting for gem-red, uncirculated examples find a satisfying challenge that rewards a careful and patient eye. And at the very top of the market, gem-red survivors command genuinely impressive auction results that prove the power of conditional rarity over mintage numbers. For current market value, a circulated 1952 no-mint mark wheat penny is worth between $69,000 and $135,000 depending on the level of wear, while uncirculated examples range from $510,000 at MS-63 up to $925,000 or more at MS-65 in full red designation. At the highest certified grades, The finest known examples have reached several $1,000s at major auction houses, with the Proof series adding additional collector value above those business strike results. For collectors pursuing this date, the most important tip is to examine every example carefully under magnification for double die obverse varieties and the web-like staining pattern before committing to a purchase. Seek out the brightest, most original red examples you can find with clean, mark-free surfaces, and submit any coin that appears to be in gem condition to PCGS or NGC for professional grading, since certification consistently delivers stronger results in the competitive market for high-grade early 1950s Philadelphia wheat cents. Now let's move on to our second coin, the 1953D Mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny. By 1953, the Lincoln Wheat Penny had become a permanent fixture of American daily life, a coin so familiar that most people gave it no more thought than they gave to breathing. But in the Denver Mint that year, something remarkable was quietly happening. The presses were running at a staggering pace, producing 700,515,000 pennies marked with the letter D, making the 1953 D the ninth highest mintage of any date and mint mark combination in the entire Lincoln Wheat Penny series. 700 million coins. It is an almost incomprehensible number, and it fundamentally shapes the story of this coin for collectors today. The historical backdrop of 1953 is a rich one. The Korean War armistice was signed in July, ending 3 years of devastating conflict and bringing American troops home. Queen Elizabeth II was crowned in Westminster Abbey in June. Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay became the first humans to summit Mount Everest. And America was riding a wave of post-war confidence and prosperity that would define the decade. Every one of those hundreds of millions of Denver pennies passed through that world, changing hands in diners and department stores, gas stations and grocery markets, absorbing the texture of everyday American life in a way that no document or photograph quite captures. In terms of condition and what to look for, this is where the story of the 1953 D becomes genuinely fascinating for collectors. Denver Mint coins from this era were struck at higher production speeds than Philadelphia coins, which contributed to strike weakness on many examples, with most original rolls containing coins in the MS-63 grade range and lower. This means that the 1953 D is simultaneously one of the most common wheat pennies in existence and one of the most challenging to find in truly high grade, a paradox that makes hunting for a gem example genuinely exciting. PCGS has certified only 9 examples in MS-67 plus red, a population so small that when a fresh example appeared at heritage auctions, it reset market expectations for the variety entirely. When it comes to background and composition, the 1953 carries all the hallmarks of the classic wheat cent design. It is struck in 95% copper with 5% zinc and tin, measures 19 millimeters in diameter, and weighs 3.11 grams, with the Denver D Mint mark sitting beneath the date on the obverse. Victor David Brenner's Lincoln portrait remains one of the most admired coin designs in American numismatic history, and the combination of that portrait against the warm glow of high copper content bronze gives a well-preserved 1953 a genuinely elegant presence that photographs simply cannot do justice to. Collector demand for this date is wonderfully accessible for newer collectors and genuinely competitive at the top end. At circulated grades, the 1953 D is an affordable, approachable coin that makes a great starting point for anyone building a wheat cent set. But as condition climbs, demand climbs with it in a dramatic way. Era varieties also drive real collector excitement, with 1953 D cents struck on silver dime planchets, which look exactly like a penny-sized dime, worth more than $1,000 even in circulated condition, and off-center strikes and repunched mint marks also carrying meaningful premiums. For current market value, the 1953 D Lincoln Wheat Penny is worth approximately $58,000 in average condition, rising to between $110,000 and $224,000 or more in uncirculated mint state condition. At the very top of the scale, the documented auction record for an MS-67 red specimen is $447,475, achieved at Bowers and Marina in 2007, with a more recent MS-67 Plus red selling for $774,560 at heritage auctions. for collectors. The key tip with the 1953 D is to be discerning about color and strike. Given that Denver production speeds led to many weakly struck examples, finding a coin with full, sharp detail in Lincoln's hair and strong wheat stalks on the reverse is genuinely rewarding and worth a small premium over a softer struck example. Also keep a magnifying glass handy to check for the D over D repunched mint mark varieties, which can be found with patience and significantly boost the value of what would otherwise be a common date. Now let's move on to our third coin, the 1955 D mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. 1955 is one of the most legendary years in the entire history of the Lincoln cent, and the reason for that sits squarely at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced one of the most famous error coins in American numismatic history that year. The 1955 double die obverse, struck at Philadelphia without a mint mark, shows one of the most dramatic and unmistakable examples of doubling ever seen on a U.S. coin, with the motto, "In God We Trust," the word "Liberty," and the date 1955 all clearly doubled, creating a coin that has fired the imaginations of collectors for 7 decades and is worth anywhere from over $1,000 in average circulated condition to tens of thousands in gem uncirculated grades. That one extraordinary Philadelphia coin has cast a long shadow over the entire 1955 date, and it has the happy side effect of making people look very carefully at every 1955 penny they encounter, including our coin today, the Denver Mint issue. The 1955 E itself carries no such error, but it has its own compelling story. The Denver Mint struck 563,257,500 pennies in 1955, while the San Francisco Mint produced just 44,610,000, and 1955 holds a bittersweet historical distinction. It was the last year San Francisco produced wheat pennies before ceasing operations until 1968, giving the entire 1955 date a sense of closure and ending. The Denver issue, by contrast, is a coin of abundance and energy, a product of a city and a mint running at full industrial capacity during one of the most prosperous decades in American history. Eisenhower was president, Disneyland had just opened in California, rock and roll was being born, and hundreds of millions of copper pennies were rolling off the Denver presses into a nation that needed every one of them. In terms of condition, the 1955 D presents one of the more interesting challenges in the late wheat cent series. The 1955 D wheat penny is very difficult to find in the highest mint state grades, considered one of the toughest to find among 1950s Denver issues, with many examples coming in one grade lower than they actually appear, which can significantly affect pricing. This means that a careful collector who knows how to assess strike quality and surface preservation has a real advantage when hunting for 1955 D coins in bulk lots or estate sales. Look specifically for coins where Lincoln's hair above the ear shows sharp, individual strands, where the wheat stalks have crisp, well-defined ribs, and where the surfaces carry original mint red rather than the brown oxidation that comes from years of exposure. The background and composition of this coin follows the beloved wheat cent formula. Struck in 95% copper with 5% zinc and tin, the 1955 D weighs 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters across, with Victor David Brenner's Lincoln portrait on the obverse and Christopher Ironside's 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. The D mint mark sits beneath the date on the obverse, a small letter that makes a big difference to the coin's numismatic identity. Collector demand for the 1955 D is healthy and growing, particularly as the wheat cent series continues to attract new collectors drawn by the accessible price points of common circulated examples and the genuine excitement of hunting for high-grade gems. The fact that 1955 carries the legendary double die story of its Philadelphia cousin adds a halo effect of collector attention to the entire year, and the relative difficulty of finding sharply struck, gem-quality 1955 D cents keeps demand competitive at the top end of the market. For current market value, the 1955 D wheat penny is worth approximately 6 cents in average circulated condition, rising to between 43 cents and $1.24 or more in uncirculated mint state examples. At the very summit of the grading scale, PCGS Coinfax lists the auction record as $8,400 for a 1955 DMS 67 plus red example sold by Heritage Auctions in 2024, a remarkable number for a coin that began its life as a single cent. For collectors pursuing this date, the most valuable tip is patience combined with a magnifying glass. Always examine 1955 D cents carefully for varieties, since minor double dies and repunched mint marks do exist and can add meaningful premiums. More importantly, train your eye to distinguish between a strongly struck Denver cent and a weakly struck one, since that difference in sharpness can translate directly into a grade point or more, and in the high mint state range, a single grade point can mean the difference between a $20 coin and an $8,000 coin. And now, let's take a look at our fourth and final coin, the 1956 no mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny. We have arrived at our final coin, and this one carries a number so extraordinary it deserves a moment of quiet appreciation before we even begin. But first, let us set the scene, because the story of the 1956 no mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of almost paradoxical extremes, a coin so common it was literally everywhere, and yet so rare in its highest possible condition that a single example sold for $57,600. America in 1956 was a nation at the height of its post-war confidence. Elvis Presley was recording Heartbreak Hotel, the interstate highway system was being built, and the Philadelphia Mint was about to produce a number of pennies that still stands as one of the most remarkable in the series. The Philadelphia Mint struck 420,745,000 cents in 1956 without a mint mark, a very large mintage that makes this date one of the most common in the entire wheat cent series for circulated examples. By 1956, there were only 2 years remaining before the wheat reverse design would be retired forever, replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial reverse that a new generation would grow up handling without ever knowing the elegant simplicity of the wheat stalks they replaced. When it comes to history and condition, the 1956 Philadelphia cent occupies a fascinating position in the collector world. With over 1.5 billion cents struck across both the Philadelphia and Denver mints in 1956, circulated examples are genuinely everywhere, making this one of the most accessible and affordable wheat cents for beginning collectors. But here is the beautiful irony of this coin. That enormous mintage means almost nothing at the very top of the grading scale, because PCGS Coinfax describes the 1956 Philadelphia no mint mark as almost unheard of at MS 67+, meaning a coin that was struck by the hundreds of millions can barely be found in gem condition today. Almost every one of those coins went straight into everyday circulation, passing through hands, rattling around in pockets, and accumulating the wear and marks that collectors find so disheartening in later years. In terms of background and composition, the 1956 no mint mark penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it a weight of 3.11 grams and a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. With Victor David Brenner's Lincoln portrait on the obverse and Christopher Ironside's wheat stalk reverse making their appearance in the third-to-last year of their long service together. The Philadelphia Mint also struck proof versions of this coin in 1956, producing 669,384 specially prepared proof cents with mirror-like fields and exceptional detail for collector sets, and those proof examples represent some of the finest expressions of the wheat cent design from its final era. Collector demand for this date is strongest at the extremes. Entry-level collectors love the 1956 Philadelphia cent for its affordability and accessibility, making it a perfect date to start with for anyone building a complete wheat cent collection. At the top of the market, registry set collectors competing for the finest known examples drive genuinely fierce bidding, since only about 50,000 cameo-proof examples and approximately 5,000 deep cameo specimens exist from the original proof mintage, making the finest proof examples extraordinarily rare and valuable. For current market value, circulated 1956 no mint mark wheat pennies are common and worth between 2 and 10 cents in average condition, while uncirculated examples with a strong strike in full red color can reach $15 to $20 in MS 66+ grade. At the very summit, the numbers become extraordinary. An MS 67+ red 1956 Philadelphia wheat penny sold for an astonishing $57,600 at auction in 2022, the highest known auction result for a business strike 1956 Philadelphia cent. And on the proof side, the Philadelphia Mint proof examples carry values from $42 all the way up to $900 for the highest grades, with a PR68 deep cameo example having sold for $16,100 in 2003 for collectors. The key tip with the 1956 no-mint mark penny is to focus fiercely on color and surfaces. High-grade specimens with full red color command the highest premiums, and a PCGS MS 67 Plus red example reached over $3,000 at heritage auctions, making the investment in finding and submitting a truly exceptional piece well worthwhile. Always examine the fields of the coin for bag marks and contact marks, since even a single prominent mark in an otherwise perfect coin can drop it one or more grade points. And for anyone interested in the proof series, look specifically for the deep cameo examples where Lincoln's portrait appears with a stunning frosty white appearance against mirror black fields, because these represent some of the most visually spectacular and historically significant collector pieces from the entire final era of the wheat cent design. As we have seen today, these 4 Lincoln wheat pennies from 1952, 1953, 1955, and 1956 prove that even the most ordinary-looking 1-cent coins can carry extraordinary stories, surprising values, and genuine numismatic excitement when you know where to look and what to look for. Whether you are just beginning your collecting journey or you have been hunting coins for decades, the Wheat Cent series offers something for everyone, from affordable, beautiful entry-level pieces to gem red rarities that command prices most people would never associate with a single penny. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss another exciting coin video from Rare CoinX PRO. Share it with your friends and fellow collectors, and we will see you in the next one. Happy collecting!